Let me ask you something uncomfortable. If someone followed you around with a camera for the last 6 months, recorded every hour, every choice, every moment you said, "I'll get to it," would you be proud of that footage? Or would you be embarrassed? Because I asked myself that question about 8 months ago, and I couldn't answer it. Not because I was lazy, I was busy. My calendar was full. My notes app was overflowing with plans. I had vision boards, I had goals, I had intentions. But when I sat down and looked at what I had actually built, the number was close to 0. And that silence, that moment of honest accounting, that was the most important moment of the last 3 years of my life. Today, I want to talk about the invisible trap that keeps smart, motivated people running in place, and the single mental shift that breaks you out of it. Not a productivity system, not a morning routine, something deeper. This is going to be a real conversation. Stay with me. Section 1. The illusion of motion. Here's something nobody talks about. Busyness is the most convincing lie you will ever tell yourself. When you're busy, you feel like you're moving. You feel like progress is happening just below the surface, like results are coming if you just keep going a little longer. And that feeling is addictive. Protects you from a scarier question. What am I actually building? I had a friend, sharp guy, ambitious, who spent 2 years talking about launching his business. Every time we met, he had a new update, new idea, new pivot, new research, new reason why the timing wasn't right yet. And he wasn't lying to me. He genuinely believed he was working on it. 2 years later, he hadn't launched, but he had thousands of hours of working on it stored in his memory. Motion without direction isn't progress. It's just expensive distraction. The brutal math is this: if you spend just 2 hours a day on low-value activity, scrolling, passive consumption, busy work that makes you feel productive but moves nothing forward, that's 14 hours a week. In 6 months, you've handed over more than 360 hours of your life to nothing. 360 hours. That's 9 full 40-hour work weeks. Gone. Now flip it. 90 focused, intentional minutes per day on one skill, one goal, one thing that actually compounds. That's 270 hours in 6 months. That's enough to go from beginner to genuinely capable. That's enough to change your income, your body, your confidence, your trajectory. The math isn't complicated. The execution is what separates people. Section 2. Why trying isn't enough. I want to challenge something that might feel uncomfortable. Most of us were raised to believe that trying is noble, that effort matters, that showing up counts. And those things are true up to a point. But here's what I've learned. There's a version of trying that actually prevents you from succeeding. It's the trying that substitutes for building. It's the effort that makes you feel like you're earning your future without actually constructing it. You can try for 6 months and end up exactly where you started. The difference between people who transform their lives in 6 months and people who look back confused, wondering where the time went, isn't talent. It isn't luck. It isn't even work ethic. It's design. Some people design their days. They decide in advance what they're building, they structure their environment around that thing, and they execute whether or not they feel like it. They've made a decision that their mood doesn't get a vote on certain non-negotiables. Other people react to their days. They wake up with good intentions and then get swallowed by whatever shows up. Notifications, other people's urgency, their own fluctuating emotions. Both groups are trying. Only one group is building. And here's the thing, this isn't a character flaw. Nobody teaches you this distinction. School doesn't teach you to design your life. Most workplaces reward reaction, not architecture. So we default to the path that feels productive without asking the harder question. Productive toward what? Section 3. The identity underneath. I want to go a level deeper because tactics only work if the foundation is right. Everything you do or don't do flows from what you believe about yourself. Not what you say you believe. What you actually believe deep down at the level just below conscious thought. If you believe somewhere underneath everything that you're someone who almost does things, someone who starts but doesn't finish, someone who wants it but not enough, then no system, no habit stack, no motivation video is going to save you. Because you will self-sabotage back to the identity you hold. I see this constantly. Someone gets fired up, starts strong, sees early results, and then quietly falls off. Not because they got lazy, because success felt inconsistent with who they believed they were. So before we talk about what you do, we have to talk about who you're deciding to be. There are two identities at war inside most people right now. The first says, I'll start when the conditions are right. I need more clarity. I'm not ready yet. Once this current chaos settles, then I'll build. The second says, I build regardless. Messy conditions are the conditions. Imperfect action today is worth more than perfect plans forever. I am someone who executes. Every single day, your choices cast a vote for one of those identities. Not dramatically, quietly. One skipped workout. 1 hour of scrolling instead of creating. One, I'll do it tomorrow. The votes accumulate. And 6 months later, one identity has won. Section 4. The 6-month window. I want to talk about why 6 months is the exact right unit of time to think about. A year feels abstract. A decade feels impossible. But 6 months, 180 days, that's close enough to feel urgent and long enough to build something real. 6 months is enough time to learn a skill from scratch and reach a level that can generate income. 6 months is enough time to transform your physical health in ways people notice. 6 months is enough time to build an audience, ship a product, write a book, save a meaningful amount of money, or repair a relationship you've been neglecting. But 6 months is also long enough to drift and still feel like you were doing something. That's the danger. You can be vaguely busy for 180 days, and the time moves at the same speed either way. The calendar doesn't care. What separates a transformational 6 months from a forgettable one is whether you entered it with a design. Not a plan, a design. Plans are fragile. Designs are structural. A plan says, I'll do these things and hope the outcome appears. A design says, this is the outcome I'm building. I've reverse engineered the daily actions required. I've arranged my environment to make those actions the default. I've decided in advance how I'll handle resistance. Designers finish. Planners restart. And here's the rule I live by now. I don't negotiate with the 6-month version of myself. The decision gets made once, clearly, and then the only job is execution. Not perfect execution, consistent execution. Because imperfect work that ships beats perfect work that never leaves your notebook. Section 5. The compound effect nobody warns you about. Everyone has heard about positive compounding. Small improvements, done consistently, snowball into massive results. 1% better every day, exponential growth, all of that. It's true. It works. But here's what people don't talk about. Negative compounding is just as real. Every time you say later, to yourself, to your goals, to the version of you that you want to become, you're not just delaying. You're teaching your brain a lesson. You're reinforcing a pattern. You're building, brick by brick, an identity that defaults to postponement. And that compounds. 6 months of small avoidances, small surrenders, small justifications, and you wake up wondering why you don't trust yourself anymore. Why it's hard to get excited about new goals. Why you start things and already feel the pull to quit before you even begin. That erosion is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It just slowly narrows what you believe is possible for you. On the other side of that coin, 6 months of small commitments kept, small disciplines honored, small progress documented, and something shifts. You start to trust yourself. Your word to yourself starts to mean something. And that trust becomes the foundation that everything else gets built on. So the question isn't, how do I stay motivated for 6 months? Motivation is a weather pattern. Comes and goes. The real question is, what structure will carry me on the days when motivation disappears? Finally, the decision. Let me bring this home. 6 months from now exists. It's coming whether you engage with it or not. The only choice you have is who you are when you arrive there. I want you to close your eyes for a second, actually do this, and picture 2 versions of yourself 6 months from today. The first version walks into a room differently. There's something settled about them. Something earned. They've been building quietly, consistently, without needing applause. They have proof now, not promises. Real results. Real momentum. And something about them has changed in a way people notice but can't quite name. The second version is still talking about what they're going to do. Still explaining why the timing hasn't been right. Still carrying the same weight they carried 6 months ago, just with 6 more months of excuses stacked on top. Both versions started with the same 180 days. Both faced resistance. Both had hard weeks, confusing weeks, weeks where quitting would have been easy. The difference is one decision made once and then honored daily. Not a resolution. Not a mood. A decision. So here's what I want you to do right now, not tomorrow, right now. Pick one thing. Just one. One skill, one goal, one area of your life that you are done leaving on the table. Write it down. Assign 90 focused minutes to it per day. Design your environment to make showing up easy and avoiding it hard. And then show up tomorrow. Not perfectly. Just show up. Because the first 30 days won't feel like much. There won't be fireworks. People won't notice yet. But something will be shifting underneath, your identity will be recalibrating. And once that stabilizes, the results start to accelerate in ways that feel almost unfair. You don't need a new year. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to feel ready. You need a decision and a start date. The decision is yours. The start date is today. See you in 6 months.